welcome to Stalker Call of Pripyat Misery mod, Dark Mode. My name's Switch, and I am basically insane. I like games that are very, very difficult. Not in the difficult like Dark Souls difficult, but difficult in the just annoyingly brutal gunplay. I love Arma. I love Rising Storm, I love Red Orchestra, I love Stalker most of all, though. Stalker is always a fun game, if you define fun very broadly, and it's perhaps one of my absolute favorite shooters and survival games. Now, I'm going to start a playthrough here. I have messed around with the Misery mod before, but this is really my first time going through, so we're going to go ahead and start off. We're going to try... Here, we're actually going to go back to selecting a class. Now, these are our potential classes. So, we're going to start all the way back up here in attributes. So, there are 3 different classes you can choose from, unlike in the base game where you're just a guy. A guy sent on a mission to recover some information regarding helicopters. In this case, we can choose our class, though, for that particular guy. You've got class, perks, assault, or weapons proficiency. Sniper rifles, looks like we get high proficiency with assault rifles and knives, as well as some with carbines and SMGs. Okay, so that one looks like basic competency everywhere, best with assault rifles and knives. Pack rat, almost no extra penalties for getting over maximum convenient carry weight, strong grip, low chance of dropping, gun in hand upon impact, heavy weapons expertise, lower recoil, and increased aiming speed and accuracy for heavy weapons, and sturdy, very low chances suffering the heaviest aim displacement effects even when heavily damaged, and almost no movement penalty even when much wounded. So basically, here's the thing you're gonna notice. Stalker is a game that is extraordinarily Russian, and the fan base is extraordinarily not necessarily English is their first language, so we're gonna see a lot of weird grammar and typos. Even much wounded being the first that I've noticed, and I'm sure there's been more before. So recon. Assault rifles not so great, sniper rifles not so great, shotguns pretty good, pistols great, carbines and SMGs are good, and knives are okay. Fast tapping, fire rate from pistols increased by 40%. Mobile aiming, very low penalty for weapon aim, sway and gun accuracy after movement, precise blade. Knives overall do medium damage but are much better at penetrating armors, allowing to bleed out armored enemies. Stealth. Step sounds in all stances are much quieter, which results in enemies reacting to them slower. And then sniper. Assault rifles, okay. Sniper rifles, okay. Shotguns, or sniper rifles, good. Shotguns, good. Pistols, okay. Carbines and SMGs, not so great. Knives, not so great. Okay, iron sight, zoom rate increased by 25%. Shooting stance is, almost completely steady aim when and significantly better accuracy of all weapons at crouch and low crouch. Double barrel mash. Sure shot from a double-barreled weapon generally has greatly reduced recoil. Second shot can be made 50% faster. Okay, so in an ideal world, I would personally prefer to have the sniper rifle proficiency of the sniper with almost everything else from the recon class. Specifically, carbines and SMGs are perhaps my favorite class of weapons in this. In vanilla Stalker Call of Pripyat, my go-to weapon was the 45 caliber unique SMG. It was kind of like a cross between an MP5 and a UMP45. And I personally think that's one of the best weapons in the game because of the fact that its ammunition is fairly cheap, it's fairly light, and it's got really good stopping power against most enemies. It's not so great against armored enemies, but typically you run into armored enemies late game, you're usually engaging them from a greater distance. At that point, you're bringing along more mission-specific weapons. in the case of just going out and searching for stuff or early game things, getting that SMG was usually one of my first goals. That being said, I don't know how SMGs are going to work in this game. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get away with the fact that, yeah, I basically just packed a 45 caliber pistol, the equivalent of the USP 45, and the UMP 45 equivalent. So there I just carried 45 caliber ammo. Here, I don't know as much. Um, Now, I typically standardize on NATO rounds. I don't know if I'm going to do that in this playthrough. Big advantage for me with NATO is that they're lighter. And the weapons tend to be more accurate. I personally prefer to engage enemies out farther away, just because in this game you die pretty quick. I like to hit a few guys, withdraw, have them run around back to where their friends died, or start searching for me, pick off a few more, and the like. Now, the problem with that is that that only really works with human enemies. Mutants in this game are by far my weakest skill set in terms of enemies I can face easily. I expect that mutants are going to be what kills me the most, but we'll see. That being said, I like sniper rifles. I really do. I like engaging out as far as I can because the farther away I am from them, typically human accuracy in this game is better than the AI. But once I do get up close, I love carbines and SMGs. So I don't know if I'm gonna. These two are kind of the ones that I'm leaning towards. Now, assault rifle also pretty good. The assaulter kind of strikes me as kind of the most vanilla of the classes. It's like it doesn't have anything that's super bad about it, but it doesn't have anything that's super good about it. I mean, pack rat seems nice, just in terms of being able to get back to somewhere safe that you can sell loot items and the like. Yeah, pack rat seems great. I have never experienced misery. An extremely low chance of dropping gun in hand upon impact sounds good because I don't want to lose my gun. Like, straight up, this sounds terrifying if I can lose my gun when I'm hit really hard. I hope that there are ways to mitigate that. If not, why the hell don't I have a 3-point sling? Or a pistol lanyard? Or just not suck at shooting? But okay, you work with what you got in terms of these games. Heavy weapons expertise. That I don't think is going to come up all that much for me. I like to travel light. In games ranging from STALKER to Elder Scrolls games to Fallout to almost any RPG, anything with an inventory system, I typically like to travel as light as possible. In this game, I try not to carry more than 25 kilograms of gear, period, before I go out. I like to get actually lower than that. I don't know how it's going to translate in terms of this mod, but I'm typically not going to be carrying, a PKP or an RPG-7. It's just not the style of gameplay I naturally gravitate towards. So in this case, I don't know if that's all that useful for me. Sturdy. This seems like basically when things are going bad, you won't just get screwed over as much by the game. I would prefer not to be in the point where I'm going to be heavily injured. On the other hand, it's going out and saying that I wasn't planning on crashing today, so that's why I went out with one of those Takata airbags. Sure, it shotgunned my face, but I hadn't been planning on crashing. Well, no one plans on crashing. No one plans on getting hit and taking a lot of damage. Fast tapping, that could be really useful, especially because I tend to use, throughout most of the early game, pistols a lot. I really like the pistols in this game. Mobile aiming, yeah, that seems okay. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how the knives work in Misery mod. I have played only the barest bits of the mod just to make sure everything's working. I don't want to get that close with a combat knife. Just 100%. I do not want to stab people because that means that they are close enough to stab me. There's a reason I bring a gun. Stealth sounds great for me. Keen eye, iron sight zoom rate increased by 25%. That could be very useful. Shooting stance also seems pretty good. I understand that the over-under shotgun was one of the great things in terms of the early game weapons for most of the Stalker series. And in this game, double-barreled shotgun, the side-by-side, is pretty decent early game. I don't like them, though. I prefer the over-under to the side-by-side, and in Call of Pripyat, you start off with the side-by-side. I'm going to be trying to ditch that shotgun as fast as possible. Now, that's not to say that that's going to be useless. It's just saying that the minute that I've got, anything else, especially something like a SPAS-12, this is not going to be all that useful for me, since I'm not going to carry a double-barreled all that much, because I don't really like the trade-off of the two shots. Like, I understand that I can get the second shot off a lot faster, but no, it's not worth it to me. I'll take a pump or a semi-auto, preferably a pump if this game has as punishing of mechanical failures as I expect it's going to. But in this case, yeah, this one, it's going to be useful for the first couple of missions, but after that, this thing's not going to be all that useful for me. Now, Survival Expert is good because food can be scarce. Like, this just keeps me alive, which seems pretty good. Now, let's go kind of look into the details of these. Okay, class Assaulter. Big, heavily equipped soldier skilled in handling heavy and assault class weaponry due to high body mass. He needs to sleep and consume more to remain in good condition. Can hurl heavy weight around and still be able to fight effectively. So, I am a heavy weapons guy, and this is my weapon. So, the first thing that strikes out at me, I'm just kind of scanning over all these things. If we go up here to athletics, we go to movement speed. He has a 1 pip in movement speed. Now, I don't know what that means, but that means 100%, I don't know how much that is, but 100% that means this game is going to be slower because, as much as people say that DayZ is walking simulator, in a lot of ways it is, this game is also walking simulator. And I love that about this and DayZ. That's some of my absolute favorite moments in games come from that sort of thing. One of my absolute favorite gaming memories comes from the early days of the DayZ mod, when a friend and I, equipped with just Enfields and some hunting supplies, walked from the southern airfield to the northern military airfield. It was one of the best experiences I've had in gaming. It was a absolutely wonderful story, and I love that sort of gameplay where the things that happened to us on that walkabout were really interesting and really fun. We got into fights with players. It was a night battle with Lee Enfields and a guy with a AK that he quickly emptied and was reduced to shooting at us with a pistol. That sort of stuff. We ended very much in the the story for me ends in the barracks of the airfield with my friend accidentally running. He didn't call out movement, and hopefully he will back me up on this if anyone disputes it. He walks right in front of me, and I got shot at him with a Lee Enfield because there was a zombie behind him. After that, I tried to stay alive with that character as long as I could. I think I managed to do about 48 or so hours in-game. That is to say, me playing the game for 48 hours approximately before that character died, and I kept my friend's revolver that entire time as a little bit of him, even though I had better options in terms of weaponry. So, I love that sort of emergent story and gameplay that players can create on top of these games. I'm not a huge fan of low movement speed. Like that just makes things longer than they have to be. Jump height, falling, and jumping ability, base stamina. All of these look god awful. But you can carry a lot, so there's that trade-off. Fewer trips, so maybe you save you're going to base less often, so maybe you save time overall that way. Also, if you haven't seen the veins on this dude's hand, whoever's the selecting here, that is some scary shit. That's not how veins are supposed to normally look. I have no idea how this is gonna go with that. If that's if that's their idea of what a hand looks like, I can't imagine what they think anything else looks like. Nutrition consumption rate high, need for sleep high. On the other hand, I'm very resistant to drugs and alcohol and unhealthy foods. Artifacts and radiation, not so great. And my proficiency with artifacts is really low, which is a pain because I absolutely love artifacts in this game. Artifacts are very fun to play with, and hopefully we'll get to play with them relatively soon. I expect doing some artifact hunting is going to be one of my first um, things that I go out and do. Now, let's see. Weapon specialty, assault rifle, knife fighting is high. Bank hits. Medicine is just sucky on this. This guy's good at medium range. And we get an STG-44 at the very beginning. The GSH-18 isn't a bad weapon. Having a light combat helmet and a Kevlar piece is great. And having those grenades can be really useful. So that's that guy. He's just kind of the... He seems like the very baseline guy. We'll check out him as something to measure everything else against. Recon. Lighter, stealthy soldier with speed up metabolism. Not sped up, speed up metabolism. Increased agility but low damage resistance. Special training allows to take biggest benefits from drug and medications. Medication. I don't think that that's a word. We'll call that medications, but at the cost of greater side effects. So basically, me in real life, because basically, if I take a pill, I get the full effect of that pill, and I'm usually either 100% okay or absolutely miserable. Me in surgery outpatient area is absolutely hilarious because the slightest amount of painkillers and I am high as a kite. And not in a good way. It's absolutely miserable for me, but hilarious for everyone else. So basically, heavy armor agility, low. But we got really good close breathing suit agility and great artifact proficiency. Knife fighting is great. Weapon specialty is white weapons. Great medicine, really low immune system rate except for radiation and artifacts, which makes no sense. But okay, I guess we're just really good at handling radiation. Low damage resistance, high movement speed, so we're going to be able to move around a lot. Maximum carry weight is very low. Scorpion VS61 suppressed. Now, it says silence there. I'm just going to say it's suppressed because, you know, for a variety of reasons, you don't really silence a weapon, you suppress it. But, you know, semantics there aside, this is a pretty recoil-intensive weapon. The handgun is really good. I really like the PB69 or 6P9 in terms of suppressed pistols early game. It's a really, really quiet pistol. It is like absolute KGB stuff in terms of a good quiet pistol. But I'm not a huge fan of the 9 by 18 millimeter Warsaw Pact rounds. I mean, I'm starting off with all of this equipment, like everything here, the STG-44, the GSH-18, and the M1891, and the BM16. All this stuff, that's going bye-bye. Like, straight up. For the most part, unless, like, the Scorpion blows me away, it's gonna not be all that used long-term. Just because I have very little interest in doing the Warsaw Pact weapons. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how those are balanced in this one. Traditionally, my Stalker playthroughs, though, you know, I'm from the West. I really, really like Western weaponry. I especially like, you know, the feel of bullpup weapons. There's not a whole lot of bullpup, so Warsaw Pact stuff in this until later game. I usually end up doing that. NATO stuff just for ease in my mind of organizing what kind of ammo I need. It's a really good way to get rid of a lot of ammo in terms of like when I see it in inventory and I'm trying to loot in a hurry, can I use this, yes or no? We'll see how things go. I'm gonna try and keep an open mind, but by far I think the sniper is my least favorite start off in terms of equipment. Um, just because having messed around just at the very beginning with this, the M1891 and the BM16 sawed off, handling those weapons was not great. Like, the scope on the rifle was absolutely atrocious to see through. It was the worst optic system in any game that I've ever seen, and I love it in a lot of ways because of that. But I'm not necessarily all that tempted to go experience it again. This guy is a medium build survivor who is at least dependent on food and drink and who may run for long distances without rest, able to stay awake for longer periods of time, special training and breathing mechanisms results in a very controlled aim, so better aim. Stamina, high, sprint, medium. Okay, odd. This guy's kind of the medium in athletics, medium in armor and equipment, or, equipment proficiencies, medium in knives, medium in medicine. Apparently, he can just scarf junk food. Like, his hide must be, like, full of Lay's potato chip wrappers or whatever the STALKER version of that is. Frankly, right now, I'm thinking we're gonna go with the um, we're gonna go with the um, recon class. Now, this is gonna be a bit of a abbreviated video. I'm typically gonna try and record for about 30 minutes. In this case, we're gonna have to restart the game to choose this class, just because Misery is not a well optimized or well necessarily the best most user friendly mod. Like, it requires that you relaunch the game to choose the soldier you're going to be using. So we're going to go ahead and take a break for a second. I was going to try and post these episodes about once a week. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and post episode 1 and 2, one after the other. But until I see you next time, this is Switch, and I will see you in the game for the next episode.